Hey, I want to welcome you guys back to another episode of the AWM NFL Podcast. My name is Riccardo Stewart, and I'm one of the hosts, and I'm joined with my friends. I got Jeff Locke, Zach Miller, and Sam Acho, combined over 20 years of NFL experience, and now being able to give the wisdom and advice of family office advisors. And so today, you know what I want to talk about, because it's almost Thanksgiving. We're getting into Christmas, easily my favorite time of the year. As a dad, as a husband, it's my favorite time of year as a high school football coach. It's my favorite time of the year of watching football, because we're about to get some championship games. NFL is cranking up and get into just meaningful games. So there's a lot. But what usually comes in this time, especially for those who have the means, is it becomes giving season. And people talk about it being as giving season. You want to have Thanksgiving, where you want to serve, you want to provide food. It becomes end of the year giving, where you want to give, you want to contribute. And so I want to talk about that today as it relates to the NFL player and what does it look like to be a cheerful giver and so forth. So I'm going to start with you first, Sam. Sam, we like to say money is a tool to pay for the things you want. And the second part of that is to bless the people that you love. And what ways do you see NFL players blessing the people that they love?
I think the first way I see NFL players blessing the people they love is at a granular level, meaning at their facilities, the people making food, the people cleaning up the locker rooms, like the people who are cutting video that nobody sees, like those people who are doing the day-to-day grind. I oftentimes see NFL players, especially during the Thanksgiving and holiday season, from a granular level, focus on serving the people in their building. But then I also see it expand outside of their building. I just heard about a guy, a college player actually, who's doing a turkey drive for his community. Dude's in college. He has a little bit of NIL, but he's using his NIL to do a turkey drive for his community. Same thing in the NFL. Christmas time as well. You see players doing toy drives or Secret Santa, the shopping for kids. So what I've noticed is that NFL players are extremely, extremely generous. But I think we're looking for better ways to not only be even more generous, but more effective in our generosity.
So I was a pastor for 13 years. And one of the things we saw is at the end of the year, there would be a lot of money coming in. And you would have people, especially those who had the means and were very blessed financially, would say, hey, I need to give this anyway. It's the year-end giving. Zach, end of year giving. It's a thing. Like, what does it mean? Like, what is it? And then how does it bless the actual giver?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is, of course, with the deadline of the end of the year and the holidays, people tend to wait till the last minute to actually make the gifts that they've wanted to give all year. So it always helps to have a deadline. I know I do this also. Like, I'll wait to donate. I have money in a donor advised fund, which Jeff will cover on why you can use a donor advised fund to maximize the amount you can give. But basically using that to give at the end of the year with our clients, with our players, it's like, hey, even if you're not going to give it this holiday season, you might push that giving into next year. You can kind of make that decision now, put the money into that kind of donor advised fund like I talked about, and not have to give it right away. But for me, it's whether it's time or money, it's giving helps unlock the grips of greed. As you say, Riccardo, it's rewarding, because at the end of the day, money is the tool to help us accomplish kind of what we want in life. And so there's certain things that I care strongly about that I'll give to them, whether that's where my kids go to school. My wife just put together stockings for kids that are unfortunately not going to have very many gifts this season. So that these types of things, though, you can give your time, show up at a food bank, show up at a turkey giveaway, do those things, but then also, be able to buy, whether that's meals, food, and you can give the money, the capital that way to bless those people that are less fortunate. That's an opportunity you have as an NFL player where you're fortunate to make millions of dollars at a young age. And it helps to give perspective. Anytime I've done any of those types of work to go see how less fortunate a lot of people are, it helps to put things in perspective. And I think it's great to do. I get my kids into it because of how much it can influence how you think about your problems in the world.
Love it. I absolutely love it for that reason, is getting the kids involved, giving and so forth. And, I think about our NFL players and I think about NFL players in general, just to be strategic about everything that they do. I mean, the reality of it is you're in the film room, you're thinking about what's the strategy, what's the plan. I don't want to leave money on the field. Sam and I were talking to someone earlier and using the illustration of, hey, when you see a formation, you recognize a formation, there's certain things that they do. And when those things trigger, you want to trigger and make the play. We're talking defensive back. Like, hey, you want to step in and get that interception. Sometimes you just don't believe it. And so you don't take advantage of it. And I know that there is something that most NFL players are not taking advantage of when it comes to being strategic, when it comes to your giving. And so, Jeff, I want you to talk particularly about, like, what's the best way for NFL players to be able to give that is an advantage for them and those in whom they want to bless.
So the first thing I'm going to talk about is how not to give. That's going to cue us up, right? What a lot of people do at the end of the year when they're rushed, there's not a lot of time left, there's all these things going on, is they just give cash, right? It's the easiest, write a check, send some money to the charity. But that's actually the worst way you can give as an NFL player, right? The best way to give is to look in your account that has all your investments, right? Figure out what has gone up the most, what stocks have gone up the most, and you actually want to give those stocks to a charity. And the reason is you then avoid all the tax that would have been associated with how much that stock went up later in life when you sell it. It just disappears, right? It's one of the gifts of the government tax code, right? That tax disappears. You can give it to a charity. So you can do that directly to charity if you want. But as Zach mentioned, there's this super special type of account called a donor advised fund. And the government, for some reason, government really likes helping us with charity giving, right? We can get into the reasons for that, but we're just going to take it for what it is. So this donor advised fund, you can essentially put money or stock into it. And in the eyes of the government, you just gave money to a charity right when you put it into the donor advised fund, which is awesome, right? Because now, as an NFL player at the end of this season, the one thing I don't have is time to go research charities and figure out where I want to give. But I know I'm in the highest tax bracket right now. So it's actually the best time in my life to put money into a donor advised fund, get the tax deduction like I'm giving it to a charity. So the donor advised fund, if you take anything away from this, it gives you the flexibility of time, right? You can get the maximum tax deduction now by putting your stock into it, and then it can sit in the account and grow tax-free, and then you can decide to give later, even when you're in a lower tax bracket. So maximum tax advantage and maximum flexibility when you put money into a donor advised fund, and way less pressure this time of year when all of us on this call know this is like the most pressure-packed time of year for an NFL player going into these last couple of weeks of the season with all the holidays, with all the weird game schedules and all that kind of stuff going on.
Yeah. I mean, one, it sounds too good to be true. And what I'm hearing you say is, as soon as I put it into that donor advised fund or account there, it's as if I already given to the charity. Now, we were just talking earlier about end of the year giving. Do I have to disperse that money by the end of the year?
No, disperse it whenever you want. So a lot of our clients, like a good example, one of our clients is making $10 million this year, right? He already has some money set aside in his investment account. So we work with him and our tax team to figure out, hey, what makes sense in terms of putting money into the donor advised fund. And then literally for the rest of his life, he can let that money grow in the donor advised fund and give $50K a year, $100K a year, whenever he wants later on.
See, that's amazing. And I'm going to let you and Zach just duke it out for the last question here. And really simple, guys. If I don't have one, what's my next step to get one started? Whoever goes first wins.
Go ahead, Zach. You got it.
So the quickest thing is to open a donor advised fund, and then you have to, before year end, fund it. So you have to find whatever, and if you're been invested a while, whatever in your investment account that has gone up the most has what we call the highest gain. That's what you're going to donate into the donor advised fund. You get the tax deduction this year. I'm going to do it before year end with one of my highest increased in value securities, and I'm going to donate that to the donor advised fund. And then immediately once it's in there, you can go in there and tell, basically you're advising or telling them where to cut that check to.
So here's the goal. Wrap it all up. First, I'm in the locker room. I know there's people who feed me. I know there's people who give me massages. I know those people who take care of me. I want to be able to bless that. And then I step back and go, maybe not the best way is just to give cash. There needs to be something called a donor advised fund that I have myself. That's an investable account that I can put cash in. I can put stock in that can grow. And then I can distribute that to be even a better blesser. So you're telling me it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving. Let's get it. Hey, if you have any questions about anything we've talked about today, please shoot us a text, 602-989-5022.